guys, my name is Kate and today I'm going to be showing you how to properly and safely install hair tinsel. So first let's go over what you're going to need. You are going to need some hair clips. So I have different types of hair clips with me when I'm installing hair tinsel. Most importantly, I have a whole bunch of these clips with me when I'm installing hair tinsel because these little clips are great for holding down any little baby hairs, and that can be the hardest thing about safely installing the hair tinsel. You want to make sure there's no crosshairs that get stuck in the microbead, and little baby hairs are really good at getting stuck in the microbead. Next, you're going to have some hair pliers. I got mine from Bellamy. They are specifically for installing hair extensions. You're also going to need a sectioning comb. A tail comb will work just fine for that. I don't actually know what this is called, but you are going to need one of these. You can get it from any beauty supply that sells hair extension tools, of course. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, preferably hair scissors also, because you might end up cutting the person's hair a little bit. So you do want to be using nice sharp hair scissors. You're also, of course, going to need some hair tinsel and some micro beads. These are the ones I'm going to be using today because they're nice and light and they will show really well, so you'll be able to see it. But micro beads come in all different colors, and probably the most popular colors are like these three right here. You always want to make sure that you're using a microbead that's actually the same shade or darker than the person's hair you're putting it on. If it is lighter, you can really see it and it's obvious and it just doesn't look good. So you always want to make sure the microbead is the same shade or darker than the person's hair. So like my hair has a copper tone and these won't quite match, so I'd probably go with a nice dark one like that, and that one's gonna hide the most in my hair. Next, we're going to actually install the hair tinsel on my mannequin here. So it's really important when you are installing a microbead to stay about 1 inch away from the hairline to make sure if the person puts their hair back, you don't see the micro bead underneath. And a really popular place for me to put hair tinsel on clients, right about 1 or 2 inches back from the hairline and about 1 or 2 inches down from the part. When you are doing your section around, you want to think about how the head slopes, and you want to go with the shape of the head, if this makes any sense. So instead of so a part is straight here, right? And if I want to put a micro bead right here, rather than taking a section just straight across like this, I would instead take a section that slopes with the shape of the head. So I kind of like a halo section. And I would put a section like that. I think I'll go a little bit higher though, looking at that, because that's actually a little bit low. And the hair tinsel will get a little bit lost if it is underneath too much hair. So I'm going to use a section like this, and I'll just make it a little extra tidy. Probably go a little bit more down like that. So as you can see, rather than it being straight across like this, it just follows the natural flow of the hair. And I'm going to take one of these little clips and put it here. And I might lock that in with this bigger clip. And then I just want to make sure I'm not going to have any these little crosshairs. So I'm actually going to take my comb and I'm just going to push my comb in right from there, and it's going to hold back any little crosshairs. And I'm going to stick that in right there. So I have a nice, neat and tidy line here. Next, I'm actually going to grab my hair tinsel, and you can watch another video I have where I talk about how I organize my hair tinsel so I can get the most use out of every strand of hair tinsel. This was previously used on other people and it's been cut off. And then I have this long piece left. You want to make sure that the hair tinsel is the full length of the client's hair, because of course you wouldn't want the hair tinsel to be shorter than their hair. And so I'm just going to take this and I'm going to clip my hair tinsel section that I'm going to be using above here. And I'm going to clip that with 2 clips just to make sure it's nice and secure. So you can see hair tinsel is hanging lower than the hair, so I'll cut it off after I install it. And just give you a close-up of this. Okay, now I'm going to take my tail comb and I'm going to get my sections. So there's a couple things to go over here really quick about your section for the micro bead. This is actually pretty important. So we're going to put the little micro bead that we're going to be using on our tool here. And then I just take this tool and I just put it around my wrist like this. So all these things are important if you're going to be doing this like regularly or at like a festival like I do sometimes. Yeah, it just keeps everything moving really efficiently and quickly. And so for the section that we're going to get here for the micro bead, you want this section to be no wider than your micro bead once it's flattened down. So this is a circle and it is going to be pressed down with the hair pliers, so it will flatten out like a pancake. So as you can imagine, it'll expand a little bit, but my section is going to be very small, not any wider than that once it's pancaked out, not any wider than that once it's flattened out. So, and you do want your section to be super tidy, and you want to use kind of a U-shaped section, and you want to drop down about 1/2 inch on average. There's different reasons why you would drop down further or not as far. It depends on the client's density. So if someone has super, super thick hair, you might only drop down 1/4 inch and do a little U shape, but that's if they have super thick hair. On average, I'd probably say about 1/2 inch. And if someone had like super fine hair and you were worried about the integrity of the micro bead and like pulling on the hair too much, then you would just drop down even further. So you might take a section that's like 3/4 inch long. Not any wider though. You don't want to take a section that's wider than your micro bead. You still want to keep it the width of the micro bead, but you can drop it down longer if you need more integrity or more hair to hold on to. So basically if you have super fine hair, you're going to want to drop it down more. And if you have super thick hair, you're going to not have it drop down as much. So I'll give you a really close up that I can of this section I have for her micro bead. And I'm also holding the hair tinsel above that's just secured there, and I'm just pinching it in my finger right now to try and show you guys this section. Okay, so next we're just going to take this tool off of my wrist and kind of put your hands through the tool, grab the section of hair and pull that through. I do try to pinch the top as much as possible. It keeps the section nice and tidy. because at this point it's very easy to get all these like little crosshairs getting stuck in everywhere and get stuck in the micro bead. But I'll show you what to do here if you do get any crosshairs. So now we just slide our micro bead up. And when you get to the end, you just pull on the bottom of the tool and hold the micro bead, and then okay, so that tool is now free. I'm just supporting the micro bead up here. So you want to then just hold the hair how it lays. So you want to make sure you're not over directing it and holding it up high or pulling it forwards or backwards. You just want to hold the hair straight down how it lays. And you don't want this micro bead to be too tight. So I'll just show you, like, I just have it sitting, it's probably about a 1/4 inch from where the last hair is attached to the scalp there, actually even 1/2 inch there, but I can put it up a little bit. And that's probably the closest I would want to have it. Even a 1/2 inch down is fine like that, nice and loose. This ensures that it's comfortable for the client, and it ensures that the hair that it's holding onto isn't going to have too much tension, which won't result in tension alopecia, which is where the hair actually comes out because there's too much tension on the hair. So it is really important that we are not putting too much tension on the hair. You can see where the hair is attached there, and I don't have it too tight to the scalp. So I'll try to show you an example of what would be too tight and no good. So if I was to attach it right there, nice and tight to the scalp, that would not be good. It would be putting too much tension on the hair that it's attached to and risk the hair falling out. It also might stick up, like, because when you put the pliers in there and squeeze down, say we had a bunch of crosshairs. When you get your micro bead in, you want to make sure that you don't have any crosshairs. So you want to kind of take your tail comb and run it along the part of the sectioning there. And then you just want to, see I have a couple hairs there. I don't know if they're in the micro bead, but it might be in my hand. You just want to pull them down. And then you're going to go on the other side and do the same thing. And this is going to get any of those little crosshairs out. And those crosshairs will be like the thing that makes the person want to take this out of their hair like immediately, because it's very uncomfortable if you have one random hair from somewhere else pulling. It's very uncomfortable. So just make sure you don't have any crosshairs with your tail comb, that's nice and tidy. And then you're going to take your pliers and you're going to put them on the micro bead, nice and flat to the head there. And just squeeze down as hard as you can. And then you want to give it a couple more squeezes just to ensure that it is on there tight enough. And always give it even one last squeeze. Now we have the hair tinsel attached. It is too long currently and it's still attached above. So this is where we take our scissors. And we will remove these clips that are holding the hair tinsel there. And then I take my hair tinsel and I just pull it like this. And what I do is I clip it right there at the top. And then you want to trim the bottom lengths of the tinsel. And I never really cut it straight, even if the person's hair is fairly straight. You just want to kind of take the hair like this on the ends where the hair is and just chip in to the ends of the tinsel to give it a realistic hair look. And then your tinsel is attached. and you'll take out the rest of your clips. And put that back over. And then you can see, you can't see the micro bead. It is light, so you can actually see it if I try to show you. But if it was dark, you wouldn't see it at all. And it looks beautiful. Now, I did the micro bead light, remember, because I want you guys to be able to see it too. But as you can see, it's fairly hidden the way that I have it. And it also moves with the hair freely. Really important kind of like safety check at the end of installing it on each client is I always, once it's attached and I have actually like squeezed down the micro bead, I always give it a lift like this, a little wiggle up and down. And I ask my client, does that hurt? Does that hurt at all? And if they say yes, it's because there's something wrong. So I undo it and we reapply. So most of the time they say no, but the odd time I don't see a crosshair or something and they say yes, and then we just undo the micro bead here. We can clamp it back down, so you can actually release the micro bead and then clamp it back down if it's an easy fix, or sometimes we'll just take it right out and start over. It doesn't take you very long to install this, so it's really not a big deal if that happens. This will last in your client's hair. I always advise like no longer than 4 weeks, I advise. Maybe push it to 6 if you're feeling like it is holding really well and everything, but I definitely recommend taking it out after 6 weeks. I have had people defy all odds and keep it in their hair for like 3 months. I do not recommend that though. I would say that they should last anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. And I say that after about 2 weeks, you should be checking the micro bead just to make sure it's still holding on by enough hair, because our hair does shed. And if you have shed too many of the hairs that it's attached to, then it should come out, because there can be too much weight holding on the couple hairs that are still left. And then again, that can end up causing the hair to fall out. So it is a very safe way to install hair tinsel on the head. And it is very straightforward, but there is some very important things to think about and consider, in my opinion. And I think it's really important that we all kind of share this knowledge so that we can be installing this correctly on people. I always get nervous when I see a video that shows like someone taking a way too wide section with a micro bead. So I hope this video helped. I'm sure that I missed some things and maybe I was all over the place, but thanks for watching if you're still watching, and let me know what I can do next time to make this better for you.